I convened the April 9th, 2025 Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order at 7 p.m. Jackie, please call the roll.
Emily Swistek.
Here.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Karen Larson, absent. Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Vanessa Berry.
Here.
Debbie Bryan.
Here.
Josh Martin, absent. Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Will Savage.
Here.
John Ferrari.
Here.
Elizabeth Hopkins.
Here.
Paul Hurt.
Here.
Laura Murphy.
Here.
Thank you. Agenda item 2 is opportunity for visitors to speak. Public comment is for the general public to address the board. Each person will have up to 5 minutes to provide public comment. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 3, which is to approve minutes of the December 11th, 2024 Strategic Planning Committee meeting. May I have a motion and a second?
I move to approve the minutes of the December 11th, 2024 meeting. I'll second.
Okay, with a motion and a second. Discussion? No? Okay, Jackie, roll call please.
Emily Swistek.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Vanessa Berry.
Aye.
Debbie Bryan.
Aye.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Aye.
Will Savage.
Aye.
John Ferrari.
Aye.
Elizabeth Hopkins.
Aye.
Paul Hurt.
Aye.
Laura Murphy.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes. Item number 4 is discussion involving the community survey, focus group results, and our next steps. Tatiana, would you please start the discussion with your presentation?
Yes, I would be happy to.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, let me get my space here. All right, welcome everybody. We are going to talk strategic planning and all of the results of the survey. Fun stuff. So let us move on here. We have our committee. If you don't know our names yet, they are right here for you all to see. And the first slide, I want to go over some history, just a bit of a refresh about the internal preliminary input from the committee. So the last time we met was in early December, but before that, we already reviewed the prior strategic plan and our achievements. We did a comprehensive SWOT analysis, if you all remember, and then we brainstormed some survey questions for the community-wide survey. Okay. At the December meeting, we did even more prep work. So we finalized the survey questions. We set the date to release the survey on December 13th and for it to close on February 28th. I think it was a healthy 2+ month opportunity to take the survey. And then we identified ways to promote the survey, which included soft launching at our winter read event where Trustee Berry sat at a table. She engaged a bunch of patrons, both kids and adults. And we posted about the survey on social media and on our website. We also sent out direct mailings via postcard to all district residents. And we also put a reminder section in our Connections newsletter that also goes to all district residents. So in a nutshell, this is what comprised all of our internal work and our plans for outreach. Moving on. Next came the opportunity to really connect with our residents via the focus groups and gathering data from the survey. And so I have to say I'm very pleased with the number of responses we received. We had 420 completed surveys. One was on paper, the rest all via the online method. And we also conducted 4 focus groups that targeted 3 general demographic categories. First category was adults and seniors. The second was teens. The third was kids and caregivers. And then we had an open forum where anyone could just drop in. So the way we were able to capture the specific demographic groups was to strategically float in at the end of a certain program and ask attendees if they were willing to stay for a few minutes and talk to us about the library in general and answer just a few questions. And it was me and another committee member here. Most attendees actually stayed to provide feedback, which was very helpful. And we also provided a sweet treat for everybody who stayed after, and you have examples of that in front of you today. So feel free to have a snack while we talk tonight. So let's take a look at the focus group data first. You also have updated slides in front of you because most of these focus groups occurred after the packet was created, so you have paper copies of those. Okay, let's talk about focus groups. So our first focus group, Trustee Martin and I approached participants after a program entitled Relax Through Meditation. We did that after it ended, so they were very tranquil and calm and receptive to us, and 12 people stayed to participate. So we asked about 4 questions, but mostly we were just trying to create organic discussion about the library and under these categories of what we do in terms of programs, the property next door, materials, and just an open opportunity to provide other thoughts. So under each category, I'll just go through some of them here. So under programs, there was a lot of appreciation for Fall Fest and our book clubs, craft and coffee program, as well as some name dropping of some of the presenters we've had here, big push for music programs, self-improvement programs, as well as the tax program we hold every year. And then as far as the vacant property goes, there was a lot of requests for a sculpture garden, a space for theatrical presentations, a garden for children, and there was one person who attended who wished the library expanded over into that property. And then under materials, a lot of appreciation for Hoopla and Libby and Canopy. The one person who mentioned Libby specifically said that she wished there were more copies of materials. There were a lot of holes on things, we know that. A lot of push for books. People were like, books, 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 please don't get rid of books. And then movies and DVDs. And then other thoughts, some people wanted us to partner with the Arboretum for like gardening programs, tree programs. People missed the job club, and if you're not familiar, we used to have a job club here at the library that occurred on Fridays. And it was for people who were looking for jobs, and then it was kind of a networking group. And then a la that idea, there was another person who wanted a creative networking group. And then one participant wanted a refresh of the Friends of the Library. So Trustee Martin's not here, but I will ask the other people who attended with me if there's anything that I missed, please chime in. Okay, we'll move on to the next focus group, which is the teen focus group. Trustee Barry and I swooped in on a Knits and Loops program in the teen room on a Saturday where kids were learning how to crochet, and they were also socializing and also trying to create new knitting projects for themselves. So we had 14 teens willing to listen to us, and we asked the same questions and allowed for a lot of random suggestions too. So Trustee Barry, please fill in the blanks where I don't. Under programs, they all enjoyed the crochet and knitting program. They said more of this. They wanted Mario Kart programs, which we do. They love the Lego program, which we do. Someone mentioned having a snack or food from other countries. I think we did that once. And then gardening was also a hot topic, as well as a tech club or Minecraft club was mentioned. And then they liked the movie programs. Under the Kingston property ideas, a lot of this was about having a space to do like homework or reading and gardening and picnicking, and someone mentioned a greenhouse, which was refreshing. And then for materials, I don't think this will surprise anybody, they love the movies, fantasy books, and books in general, video games, graphic novels, and Hoopla and Libby. And then other thoughts, which I thought was pretty poignant. One of the teens said that they really enjoy that they don't have to pay for things here, like movies or Netflix subscription, things like that. And then other things where they enjoyed our YS play space, they love our computers. One of them said that the study rooms were like, oh my gosh, we use them all the time. They liked the prizes during summer read, and then someone wished that we had a cafe. And I don't know, Trustee Barry, anything?
Yeah, I think like gardening and gardening classes and space came up a couple times when talking about the Kingston property, and also just like the idea of having an outdoor place that they could hang out and read. One girl said that there's a lot of people in her house and it's really loud, and it would be nice to be able to come to an open outdoor space and just hang out and read books.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, we'll move on to our open forum. So our next focus group was the open forum. Will and I facilitated this group, we asked people to register for this program so we can know how many to expect. We had a handful of people register, a few people called and asked about attending, and then we had a few cancellations. So in total, we had 3 people participate. 2 people were actually in the group, and then there was somebody outside of the meeting room who wanted to participate. So a total of 3 adults, all of varying ages. All 3 of them were different ages. So we'll chime in if I miss anything here. Under programs, they all supported and want us never to get rid of the reading programs, meaning summer read, winter read. They love the crafting programs, and I think one of them mentioned that they wished there was different times for the crafting programs because she couldn't make it to the times we offered. One would like Sunday afternoon programs, and one person mentioned reconstituting the Friends programs, meaning the music programs that the Friends used to do. And as far as the Kingston property goes, outdoor story times was mentioned, a larger event space, having benches, again, reading area. Someone mentioned the story walk that we have on our Front Street and Kingston roads is to continue that in there or move it to that area. Providing a shaded space for reading or relaxing. And then someone said, just don't have a really loud playground, please. And then under materials, books was mentioned, pushing the books. Love the video games and the movies and the audiobooks, Hoopla and Libby. We had one participant mention large print books and to carry more bestsellers, really appreciates the large print. And then more museum passes, which we don't have a lot of control over, is that correct, Paul?
That is correct,
Yeah, it's a program that we participate in, but it's offered by
an organization called Library First.
okay. So they manage that, but they adore the program, just wish there were more passes available. And then other thoughts, one of the participants said that just really supports the programs and that it was a lifesaver for her when she had young children. They love the license sticker service that we offer. There was a suggestion to have adult programs at 2 p.m. During the day. Sometimes they can't make the evening programs. And having a middle school program for 6th to 8th graders. And then another request to increase the large print collection. And we'll do, does anything else stick out to you?
No, you covered it.
Okay. We'll move on. Okay, and our last focus group was a lively one. It was the Kids and Caregivers group, and Secretary Sullivan and I swooped in after a very energetic and fun music and movement storytime program. And there were about 28 kids in the program and 15 adults in the room, and then we attempted to gain their attention as soon as the program ended, which was hard to do because there's a lot of fun things happening, but we did it, we got good feedback. And again, Trustee Sullivan, you jump in afterwards and fill in the blanks. Under programs, the first person who spoke up was someone who wished we did some programs in Spanish. And then there was a lot of feedback on we love the library's programs versus other libraries in the neighborhood. And someone mentioned that they come here versus going to other libraries. And then someone mentioned that a lot of nannies come to the library with the children they're caring for. And then just please do not ever get rid of the children's programs, which we would never do, but a lot of feedback on that. As far as the Kingston property goes, these all revolved around keeping it natural, like a nature space, a butterfly garden, pollinator garden, and then also having maybe outdoor scavenger hunts for the kids. And then as far as materials goes, books, everybody was like, please, books, have more books. Puzzles, as well as Vox books. Do you want to describe what Vox books are, Will or John?
Yeah, they are usually popular picture books, and they have a small add-on the end of the cover that allows you to play the text of the book. You can either run it through headphones with a headphone jack, or you can play it just from the internal speaker. You can pause it, rewind it. It's very simple, straightforward. It's one of our more popular offerings. And yeah, that's in our picture book section. They're right at the end of the picture book, so if you come to youth services, it's our very last section. They're all together for patrons.
Okay, take a breath, because when I asked you about STEAM kits, and then they all mentioned the STEAM kits were a great asset too, so do you want to talk about that?
STEAM kits are a collection of items, usually around a specific technology or science topic, but especially for the younger kids, it's a lot of like pre-literacy skills and manipulatables. Usually comes with a book, a small kit of items. It varies depending on the topic, but we have circuits, dinosaurs, building blocks, et al. And those are on our very far back wall by our youth video games. So when you see children by admin playing video games, right behind them are the STEAM kits. They're in large see-through bags that are zip-tied closed, and anybody can check those out.
Okay, great. And then other thoughts that came towards the end were everybody appreciated that the programs are free. They also suggested possibly having split classes for younger and older kids. So if like you're a mom who's got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, you know, could we do something where one room you have a program that's targeting those younger kids and then another room that's targeting older kids? I mean, that's a staffing issue, but that was a suggestion. And then please keep having morning programs, and then someone suggested having a need for more 6th grader type programming. And then Trustee Sullivan, did you want to chime in about your experience?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so let's get into the survey data. So just again to remind everybody, it went from December 13th through February 28th. We had 420 responses, and I just want to mention for everybody's knowledge in the public, this was not a scientific survey, as anyone could participate, and there might be some duplicate attempts, but I think from the mass of responses that we received, the committee should be able to pick up some themes that come from the data. And that's what our goal was, is to have the public help the committee to identify a few major themes for the library to focus on for our next plan. So let's go take a look. So the first question was, what type of programs most interest you and what time of the day would be most convenient? So you'll see the key at the top denoting the time of the day, and just at a glance, you can see that the evenings and weekends get high marks regardless of the age range, except you do see a hike in the morning story times. But other program requests were for evenings and weekends, with middays coming in second place, I'd say, and then mornings in last place. So we're going to go through all these slides kind of quickly because you've had some time to look at them, but are there any thoughts on the programming or the times of day that came to you? If not, we can keep moving, but no? Okay. The next slide shows a few of the open field answers to the question, is there another type of program you think the library should consider? Please describe below. And so with any open field opportunity, you open yourself up to a whole slew of answers and in mass quantities. So you'll see a select few here on the slide, and the committee members have the 124 additional suggestions on a separate sheet as part of your packet in a little supplement. So we also, in your packet, we highlighted the programs in yellow that we all have conducted recently, just so you're aware that even though people suggested they would want these, we have done some of them. So does anything stand out to you from the suggestions? Were there any surprises or something you'd like us to consider that was recommended? No.
Sorry, I'm skimming this.
Everybody did see that there were those Excel spreadsheets in there, correct? Okay, just want to make sure everybody got them. Okay.
There does seem to, like you say, be a theme though for some of these, you know, definitely what you picked up on, so it's kind of helpful, yeah.
Once we get through most of the data, we'll see at the end where we can land on, but okay. All right. The next slide asked, help us enhance our outdoor program offerings. Let us know what could make them better or why you never attended by selecting the answers that apply. So you'll see by far that most noted that they were unaware of us conducting outdoor programs. And those who did know, they love them and they want more of them. So any insight on this? Did anything surprise you here?
I was just surprised that that many people were not aware we had outdoor programs.
Yeah.
Like that was shocking to me. I circled it and put 3 exclamation points next to it. I was like, what? So,
And it could just be people who don't come to the library-wide events, because those are mostly the
Right,
outdoor. I
right.
mean, although we do some, like, we've done some children's programs
Yep.
outside. I know we've
Yep.
had some book group, clubs outside, but not a lot.
Yeah,
So-
that just was shocking to me.
Yeah, I wondered if they took it like really literally, like if it, because like the summer read programs are indoors and out, there's like
No.
mixtures, so that's
Yeah.
what, the only thing I was thinking, because I was surprised too, because it
Yeah.
seemed like it was users who were answering the questions, overall, so yeah, it was kind of surprising.
I will say, it does feel like these are like power users of the library, and like the idea that they just somehow avoided all of those outdoor programs. We do one quarterly on top of, we did a ton during the pandemic, and so I feel it might be like, like outdoor program, like things associated with the outdoors.
Oh, right,
as
yeah,
opposed
they
to
misinterpreted, yeah.
we were literally physically outdoors.
It could be.
Yeah,
And-
yeah,
Yeah.
We also don't like advertise any programs as like
An
outdoor
outdoor.
program. Like it's like we're doing this thing, it's taking place
It's
outdoors.
outdoors.
So it's not, unless you like have interest in the specific thing and then later realize it's outdoors, you wouldn't know immediately that like this is an outdoor one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. All right. The next slide is where we get into the vacant lot, with the question, the library is planning to develop the property adjacent to the library for outdoor programs and general recreation. What amenities would you like to see in such a space? So the top 3 were gardens and native plantings, benches and seating, and a walking path. And then coming in close was the choice to have picnic tables. So you do see a theme of having like a relaxing place to rest, read, walk. And I think we heard some of that in our focus groups as well. So the next slide actually continues on the same topic. And we offered another open field opportunity to specify what could go in this space. And there are a few suggestions here on the slide. There were 35 in total. Committee members, again, have them on a separate sheet like the other open field answers. Any thoughts about what else was suggested? And do you see a theme?
I appreciate the accessible paths. I think we were gonna do that anyway, but I appreciate that somebody, really noted that, because that is important.
I found it, in looking at the spreadsheet, I found it interesting that 17% of the respondents were against us developing the property. So that kind of stood out to me, but I also was surprised by some of the suggestions for things that would be noisy out there, like pickleball, like tennis court, like those kinds of things. And then also like the one that said light shows with music and a music night, because I'm thinking it backs up to a residential property. So like, I don't feel like that would be being a good neighbor necessarily if we're having lots of bright lights and loud noises late at night and stuff. So, but I found it very interesting that most of the things were, again, just a kind of about a relaxing space, and just kind of a nice place for people to go and spend time outside.
Yeah, it seemed to me like it would be a destination for a family in the summer, like as a picnic spot, let's go to the library and then we'll go have a
Yeah,
little picnic
that's
over
nice.
there and, that kind of thing. So I like that idea.
Okay. All right, moving on. The next slide touches upon outreach with this question. So outside of the library, where in the district would you like staff to conduct outreach programs such as story times, library card registration, or digital instruction? So the majority of answers appreciate staff going to community events and the schools, number 1, which we do, and we will continue to do so. And but coming in a close second are the respondents who like staff visiting the senior living establishments as well as parks. And there's also a bunch of people who just like coming to the library for the services. So any additional thoughts on this slide? Okay. All right, now we are venturing into materials territory. We asked, when checking out materials, which formats do you normally choose? So, as you can see, the vast majority of respondents answered with hardcover and paperback books. And then after that was digital materials, followed by DVDs, large print, and video games. So, is anybody shocked by this or surprised? No? Okay.
To me, it just reiterates the fact that, yes, we offer all these other kinds of materials, but the books is the main draw, right? Like, it just.
And it was across, I mean, in the focus groups,
Yeah,
it was across like demographics.
yes. Yeah.
I will say, I think it's interesting that video games is only 20% when I know those are very high circling items. It wonders if it's, people are ashamed to say video games in a library, or if it was just we ended up getting people for the focus group of that are just not
Well, this
using
is
it
not,
that.
this is all respondents, and remember, it's just survey
Survey, correct.
respondents.
Survey,
It's not
yeah.
all our patrons. This
Yeah.
is just survey respondents.
Well, and I wonder if you have like a lot of users that like check out a lot of video games or are like circulating them a lot. Like, is it a small portion of the library population that's using them? Versus...
We do limit video games to 5 per person, so that does mitigate like the sort of like one person checking out like 200 items.
Yeah.
We don't have that with like a lot of other items, but we do have that with the video game, so that doesn't necessarily spread out then the user base a little bit.
Okay, moving on. The next question asked survey takers to check all the non-traditional materials, resources, or services they've utilized. And lo and behold, again, the majority of survey takers never knew we had all these wonderful non-traditional library offerings. So the next top spots were the museum pass programs again, and our awesome YS Play area. There were some other close picks like the license plate sticker renewal, the drive-up windows, but I think what we learned here that in our large pot of non-traditional services we offer and materials, we should probably find some more ways to promote the offerings. And again, because we are open to more ideas, we asked what other non-traditional services were on the minds of our patrons. So we did, and we got 100 other suggestions. So here are just a few of them, and you have a list of the others. Now, some of these aren't necessarily non-traditional, just people decided to answer in this way, but you have a broad selection of suggestions. So from the previous slide and this slide, what are your thoughts about non-traditional materials in general?
Passports came up quite a few times.
I saw that.
And I know Glen Ellen does that.
And the reason I think we're seeing such a big response for passport services is because of the real ID versus
that's true.
using a US passport. And so like at my desk, we've been seeing a lot of people asking about, who provides the passport service. And we've actually looked into this over the last few years. And the reason we even tried to get into this a few years back, but there are 2 institutions in Lisle that do offer this service, the Lisle Township and the post office. And so because it is 2 in the same city or in the same village, they're very hesitant about taking on any additional institutions for the service.
Interesting.
But that's something that we can promote as a space for people to go to. I'm sure not everybody knows that. How about other ideas about non-traditional materials?
I thought the video equipment transferring for the VHS, that was a theme, and I know there are some libraries in the area that do offer that service, and so I thought that was something that was probably relevant that, maybe.
I thought it was interesting that someone suggested having kind of like a buy nothing drop off here that we would, but I mean, I can't even imagine trying to maintain that.
no.
Like, I feel like that would be overwhelming, but I thought, but a neat idea that it was.
Yeah, and I think, if you think about it more globally, I think it's a suggestion that speaks to maybe the current economic conditions that we're in.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, there was quite a few for like makerspace
Yep.
or library of things kind of ideas.
What are
too.
Yodo cards?
Yeah.
John?
This is the first I've
Oh, you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Will?
they're like Tony,
Oh.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Who knows what these
You want
are?
me to do it? You want to do it?
yeah, sorry, I was like, cards is specific, so, it's a Tony box, basically. It's a small player with an RFID thing. Sorry, I was like, cards. And you can play it, and the children can put it, it's very simple. It's near field identification, so they just put it on the player, and then it plays until they take it off. Very simple controls. We do have offer Tony boxes already, and we've kind of committed to that format just because they are expensive to like invest in. But we can get some Yodos too if that's what people want.
So, and what does it play?
So it depends. So
Okay.
stories, books, Tony boxes specifically have a lot of intellectual property. So like Blue's Clues, Disney Princesses, the Paw Patrol guys, the Coco Melon. It's usually a mixture of stories and or songs that they just go through. They're pre-programmed. Often you can, there'll be an option for like custom ones. I know Will put some Metallica on his Tony box for his kids.
You can sometimes.
But it is a very limited,
Yeah. Oh, fun, yeah.
so you don't have to worry about them going online or having a tablet and then
gotcha,
going to
gotcha.
unauthorized. It also doesn't have a screen, so it's just an audio version of it,
Okay.
which is easier for those families that are trying to cut away from screen time, but also need some sanity and some time for
Right.
for themselves and need the
Wow.
children to entertain themselves. Yeah, we have a Tony box in my home. I know Will has one in his as well. They're really good for like nighttime. You put them down. They're usually very soothing, very slow stories. And yeah, so Yodo is one of the other ones. There's like 4 or 5 that are
Wow.
coming out now. But we
Times have changed.
yes, we
Yeah.
have Tony boxes and we've had
My
those
kids
for
had
about 2 years
cassettes.
now.
Yeah.
Sorry, cards.
No, I appreciate that.
You
No,
gotta do
I
it?
had no idea. I was like, is that like the Pokemon cards?
I'm
What
glad
are they?
you asked because I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. So.
Okay.
So these dropped so quickly. I was like, oh no, did something new come out and I haven't gone to Target in the last 2 months.
No, thank you.
So what I'll say about non-traditional materials, I mean, as we saw on the previous slide, we have a number of things that are non-traditional here already, but patrons aren't aware of them. So I think it's really important for us, for the non-traditional materials we already have and services we have, we need to promote more. And then, as John mentioned, like he's willing to entertain having another part of the collection. I think that's a good thing. I just want to make sure everybody's aware, like we have limited space and shelf space. So
Yeah.
sometimes it means if we're going to introduce a whole other collection, it means getting rid of something else or squeezing something in. And it depends on what we're talking about. If it's a tiny something, maybe we can afford that. I mean, not financially, but I'm just saying afford the space. But it's just something to think about when you talk about adding collections or adding non-traditional things here.
And
Okay.
Can I add to that, Tatiana?
Yes.
This was so disheartening to me, but there's a note about online access to Cranes and Wall Street Journal and New York Times. We have online access to Wall Street Journal and New York Times, so as soon as I saw that, I went, oh no, it's in our database collection. I was also surprised the Rokus weren't rated a little higher on the previous slide, because those are so popular and they always have holds, so that was a little shocking to me.
I think a lot of that is because there are so many holds, because I know, I mean, I don't work the desk that often, but
Right.
when I have, inevitably somebody walks up and goes, oh, are there any Rokus in? And we always have to say no, and they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, put it on hold.
Very popular.
And yeah,
But to your point, yes, I
Yeah.
think that's just our reminder to, let's market what we have, and it's just a little reminder to do that.
Okay.
There was actually a comment in the survey too that people didn't know about things, as much as they would like to.
Okay, we will move. Okay, so the next slide asks a very basic question. We asked the survey taker about how often they visit or use the library services in person or online, and most respondents visit a few times a month, with a few times a week, and once a month following. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. This gives us a little bit of a gauge on who took the survey and how often they visit us. The next slide asks our survey takers about their thoughts on the library's e-blasts and how can we improve. And again, the majority of respondents did not know we had e-blast notifications. But a very close second did know and appreciated them. You can see that. But if you remember in the survey, on the online survey, we did link out to the sign-up page for signing up for eBlast. You know, we tried to use the survey as a messaging tool and an informative tool, so we provided a link to people if they didn't know what the eBlasts were. And we did see an increase in subscribers since the survey launched. So in December, we had 1,013 subscribers. That's when we launched the survey. In January, we had 1,021 subscribers. In February, we had 1,025 subscribers. And in March, we had 1,030 subscribers. So between the survey's launch and the end of the survey, we gained 17 new subscribers. So maybe the survey helped in that manner, but it just shows, I think, that the more we share with our public what we do and how we do it and how people can become aware of things, the better. Any other thoughts on this? Yes?
Is there a way that we can ask people for their email addresses? When we renew our library cards, is there an option to include your email address?
Paul?
Oh, yes. Anytime you
Okay, I
apply
haven't
for
done it
or
in so
renew
long.
or replace, yes.
At any of the other, when you register for a program, you do.
But we don't use, I mean, when you register for a program, you can ask to be reminded via email, but we don't capture their emails and use it for
Oh, I understand
advertising.
that, but I'm just wondering of different ways to, you can ask, people don't want
Sure.
to give them, but are we missing opportunities?
Yeah, like could that be an option when you register for a program? Like
Right.
click
Would you
to
like to
sign
sign
up
up
for
for
the
Right, would you
e-blast.
like to?
eBlast.
You can provide, I do believe in, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, when they're in the registration online for a program, we can link out to things, and that could be one of our links, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, I did like though that like 103 people said that it informed them about a new library service. So I feel like that's showing that the e-blasts are effective
It's doing a
and
job,
are
yeah.
a good
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
to maybe let some of these people know about things that we have.
Anything else? All right. Okay, the next slide was a simple question about volunteering at the library, and it seems that the majority of folks are busy bees, so most don't want to volunteer. However, those who do would prefer adult volunteer opportunities. Any more thoughts on this slide?
I just think it shows also a good mix of ages that did the survey, just with the youth team volunteering. Like I feel like that would have been U13, well maybe it could have been parents too, saying they wanted their kids to do it, but I just was going with the assumption that it was U13 who were completing the survey, saying we would like some volunteering opportunities, so.
Okay, next, we're going to look at our responder demographics in the next few slides. So first, the majority of respondents are in the senior camp, with millennials following, so that was interesting. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly because it's pretty simple. The next slide shows that the vast majority of respondents have a library card, no surprise there, almost everybody. And then the next slide asked how many people live in the household. So the majority are 2-people homes, with 4-people homes following, and then 3, then 1, then 5. Did that surprise anybody? That surprised me a little bit.
I would agree. Yeah, you'd think there'd be more families, that responded with like 3 or more.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
But I guess though, if we had the mostly seniors responded, then maybe that does track with a 2-person household.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we have to remember, these are the survey respondents, it's not all our patrons.
Right.
Okay, next comes our fun map. Where do our respondents live? And so the majority of survey respondents live in Green Trails and just north in areas 5 and 3. The next is in our hood right here, next to the library in area 4. And the Meadows, number 6, follows. And then the areas north of Ogden, 1 and 2. So that's who took our survey. Interesting. See where they're all at. Okay, and the next slide, not a big surprise here either. We see that the majority of respondents speak English at home with Spanish as a second. But I thought it was really interesting to see the variety of other languages that everybody ticked off. That was pretty cool to see. Okay, we're coming around the clubhouse turn here. We asked our survey takers to rank the library in terms of meeting their needs between 1 and 5, 1 being we do not meet their needs, and 5 meaning that we exceed their expectations. And it does look like we're doing some good work here with the people who responded. And then on the next slide, we provided an opportunity for those who rated us a little lower with an open field to let us know how we can improve. And there were 38 additional suggestions. I put a select few here on the slides. Does anything stand out to you or in the supplemental document in any way?
Just the one about the improved email notices when books are on hold and due sooner than expected. That's something that I've experienced myself too, and I know we've talked about it, and I think some things have been changed with that, but it still is confusing just when you either like in the app or if you get the email and it tells you, it says due, but then it says like renewals remaining, and it still shows you like a number of renewals remaining and things, so it gets confusing.
Paul, do you want to speak to that in any way?
I know that on the app, it's very accurate about how many times that they can be renewed or how many renewals you can get. However, unfortunately, through the email that's sent directly through via our integrated library system, it's something that is a hot topic among all users of what we use. It's the Polaris integrated library system, and it's something that we, meaning librarians around the world, have asked for to be updated as an enhancement to our system, and it just has not happened yet. This is many years coming.
Yeah.
This is over a decade of me working with them on this. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I thought it was, the two that really stood out to me was more opportunities to reserve meeting rooms. Paul, I think like almost every hour we're open, you can do it. So
Yes.
we are at maximum offerings and opportunities for meeting rooms.
I think it's
I wonder if that was,
availability.
yeah, or if one of the people that doesn't realize that like there's a new way to reserve some of those study rooms. And
So that was one of the things where it was just like, that is just space and time. And then I think also maybe a perception, because I know that adult offers a lot. And I feel like maybe it's just my patrons are louder, so it seems like there's more things for them. Elizabeths don't scream and run, and so maybe there might be a perception that there's more things for kids just because we are a louder, larger presence, outsized to size.
Could be.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too, because if you look at the newsletter, I mean, it's a really hearty, healthy
Yes.
offering of programs across the board. Yeah, so somebody just didn't know what to say, but wanted to say something.
I thought it was kind of funny. There was somebody who was saying that we don't need, like, we could go all digital. We don't need a physical library anymore. But then looking at the survey results on how everyone was like, books. We love the books.
But even physical things like video games are a physical item that
Yeah.
are checked out, like DVDs. Like there's a lot of also non-physical or very physical non-book items that people are like, I would like pickleball rackets. Like
Yeah.
that's as physical as you get.
Okay, anything else? All right. So the last question on the survey was another open field opportunity. So we asked survey takers for any other feedback to help the committee formulate a new strategic plan. So there are a few suggestions here on the slide and 81 additional thoughts in the supplement that you have. So any thoughts on the additional thoughts from our respondents? Anything stand out?
I don't know if it was in this section or somewhere there was a comment about searching, and I was kind of excited because I think the new, what is it, the Polaris overlay
The
thing
overlay.
will do that for them. So it's nice to know that we're like actively working
I remember
towards.
the one who said that then they search a topic, they didn't want to have all the different varieties that it was in, they wanted just books, but I figured that's just an advanced search option, you just put that in,
Yeah,
right?
there was something else in here too.
Was there
though.
another one too?
Yeah.
Our new overlay will have very accessible facets on the side that limit the content, as an option with every search, it will limit to the age group that you want. It will limit to the format of the book that you want, and you will also be able to limit to which content provider. So if you only want Hoopla or you only want Canopy, that will also be a standard search that will be on the side, as well as genres. So people that want to find more science fiction and romance crossovers, that will also be an accessible facet from every search result.
Wonderful. Okay, all right, we will keep it moving. Okay, so we just went through a lot of data and suggestions to help us in our efforts. So what are our next steps? I think what we can accomplish tonight is to determine the focus area. So we are going to do some work tonight. You're going to talk. There seem to be, as we've mentioned already, a few themes that have surfaced via the survey and focus groups, and we'll get to that in a moment. But next, after identifying the focus areas, we'll need to outline objectives under each, and that will be future work. And then we'll set approaches to reaching the desired outcomes. Then we will review our vision, mission, and values to ensure that they align with our plan. We'll also determine the length of the plan. Like, do we want a 2-year plan? Do we want a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan? I think that will become more clear to us once we have our focus areas and determine like how we're going to achieve everything. So let's talk about that next. To my notes here. So when we talk about focus areas, I just want everybody to remember that the focus area is like an umbrella category, and then under it is going to be the objectives that correlate with that category. So you see here on the left side in orange, these are the last strategic plan focus areas. And so when we think about our next strategic plan, here are some things to think about when we create like the 2025 plan. We can use the old focus areas or refresh them. But are there any immediate library needs right now for us? What stands out to you after reviewing all of the survey and the focus area data? Are there any public library principles that require extra attention at this time, in this day and age? And what are the things the library should maintain and or enhance? So over here on the right, I want to think about the 2025 focus areas and what they might look like. So what I did here was, after reviewing all the data, a few things again stood out to me, but we'll touch base with everybody here about your input. So I'm going to give you my input first, and then we can open it up. So I moved the categories over to the right here, and you see them in black, and I enhanced a couple and I added a few in blue. So first what I noticed is, obviously we talked about this already, is that the public is not aware of everything we offer. Even though we promote in our newsletter, we promote on social media, and we do a good amount of outreach. But my recommendation would be to continue to have a category that still focuses on awareness or bringing attention to the library offerings. So that would be one of mine. The next category to me is kind of a no-brainer because we've already talked about developing a lot of land next door. But what are we calling it? Are we going to continue to call it facility or property or something else? That's just up for discussion. And then next are some categories I think merit serious consideration due to the current climate that public libraries are now in. So it's important to me to not only inform the public about what we do, but also to preserve and maintain the valuable programming, services, and materials we offer. I think it's important that we consider the desires of our residents and perhaps maybe expand certain services or maybe the times we offer programs, things that are reflected in the survey. It's also important to understand that we serve all members of the public, and primarily those who pay taxes to the district. So just let's keep that in mind when we think about developing this plan. I'm naming all my important things. So I also think it's important for the public to understand what libraries do, how we assist families, and how a public library can enhance an individual's life. So especially in this current economy where there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's been that way for a while, and I don't really see that changing much right now. I think having an institution where you can physically visit or digitally access 7 days a week, gather information, learn a new skill, be entertained, or just have a place to go where you don't have to pay a fee is not only valuable, it's like a necessity for a lot of people. So just a couple of other points I'll make, and then we'll open it up. I think it's, especially now, ensuring that we maintain a broad selection of materials. We support the freedom to read, we support the freedom to view here, and we want to continue to provide programming that our patrons desire and preserve the services we currently offer. And it doesn't mean, again, that we can't improve upon what we do or expand what we offer. So when you think about focus areas, are there public library principles that require extra attention right now? Or are there things the library should maintain and or enhance? So those are what stand out to me as the director, but I feel like some of these things also came from the survey and the focus groups. So I want you to share what's important to you personally, as well as what you learned from the data in these documents. If you attended a focus group, what you learned there, and so let's share some of those ideas. So go. I want to hear from you. Thoughts? Because right now we're going to determine our focus areas, and not that they couldn't be adjusted in some way, like terminology-wise, but I'd like us to really, like, do we want 4? Do we want 3? Do we want 5? We can also combine some. So if you liked programming and materials, we could have a focus area on programming and materials. You know, we don't have to have them all separate.
I think it's important that we maintain the advocacy, outreach, awareness umbrella. I think that's really important because that's how we kind of get our brand right out there, and so that the community knows what we offer and that we're here and all of that, the resources we provide. So I think that that's really important to maintain that one. As far as if we were to rename it, I feel like the last time we did this, we went through a long process to put it together, and then we ended up doing those advocacy / outreach / awareness. So I don't know if, you know, there's other ideas as far as what that's called, but definitely need to keep that one.
I agree, and maybe focus on the awareness piece again a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be part of with the outreach, maybe.
I feel like programming should be added. I feel like there was a lot of comments, either really supportive and really like loving the programming we have, but also a lot of good ideas that I think in today's climate would be helpful. Like there were quite a few about like civic engagement and learning more about government, and then on the other side of things like gardening and like learning like skills.
Yes.
And I think it would be good to include that as well.
Tatiana, what do you mean with facility? I mean, I understand property, resources, what was your intent?
Resources, it was coming up with other words that could define the vacant lot. So to me, the vacant lot is a resource for the library. I just threw some words up there that would be under that kind of umbrella of the facility or vacant lot space.
I think using physical plant to me is a little outdated. I don't know that it belongs here. We wouldn't use physical plant. It's not part of our, but somehow distinguishing not only this building, but we're talking about vacant property.
Like library-owned property.
I think property does the best job of that, because I agree with you, Marjorie, that facility is too narrow. I don't think about the vacant lots when I hear facility, but when I hear property, it can encompass
Right.
the whole of our property, which is the, like you said, the building and the vacant lots.
Yeah.
And by organizational culture, you mean, I know we went through this 5 years ago, whatever.
What that was, I just included it as one that we have done before. And organizational culture is basically, it's like training staff and making
Right.
sure that the environment here is conducive to, learning and skill building, as well as, being a good public servant on the public desks and things like that. I think we do a good job at that right now. I'm not sure that, we fulfilled all of the goals of the strategic plan, we continue to do so. I'm not sure that, and this, again, just my opinion, I want others to chime in. Right now, for the next couple of years, I'm not sure organizational culture is something I think we need to focus on right now. It's something that's always important, but I think there's others that kind of float to the top.
I think from I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I would just second what you said, especially after hearing or reading the survey results. I'm much more inclined to include programming and materials just because that's what our public told us. And I feel like, yes, you should always maintain that organizational culture. Just because it's not in the strategic plan doesn't mean we wouldn't. But I'd be interested to focus on those other areas for this upcoming plan. John, you go.
Piggybacking on you, I think in terms of programming, services, materials, obviously that's something that we're always pushing forward and trying to adapt. But in terms of an awareness, I would say that the thing I really identified is not, yes, there's opportunities for growth in those three things, but the real opportunity for growth is letting people who are already really engaged with the library know that we do a lot more programming that they might be aware of, and have services they might not be aware of, and materials they might not be aware of, either because they missed it the first time we promoted it, or they didn't think of it until they needed it personally. But a lot of the suggestions were, in some form or fashion, things we already do. And be like, you should do this. It's like, good news, we do. But that is also a weakness, right? If people who are engaged enough to be part of a focus group or a survey and hear about those avenues and to not know about a lot of the programming and services we have, I think that the awareness should be focused on those, on promoting what we already have, rather than being like, look at all these new things we have.
Yeah.
Is it too broad of a brush to group programming, services, and materials all under resources? So there would be 3 points: awareness, property, and resources. Because I think 5 is too much, and I kind of agree with John. I agree with John.
Thank you.
That,
I'd take kind of.
the awareness or the promotion of what we are, the services we already do offer, and the programs we offer, and the programs we offer is really what I got from all the respondents. So it is important to have a focus on programming, services, and materials, and how we can adapt from the information we glean. But I think having them each be individual, I like having awareness really being a spot to hit, and maybe we can patch the rest together.
I agree, Will. I like the awareness, property, and resources, because I think it's good for people to wrap up all of the, because programming is a service, and providing materials is a service, and these are resources that your community has. And I think restructuring it in that idea that this is something that you already have, that is here for you whenever you need it. Maybe highlight we don't charge extra like the Park District. And
Hey.
love the Park District. But I like the 3. I think that's it's just a familiar thing for people, to see things in 3s.
Yeah, because I feel like we could even throw the technology under the resources as well.
Yeah, and we do really well on keeping up with that stuff. We didn't, we weren't the first ones to get published about it, but we were one of the very first libraries in the state to offer Rokus. And to figure out our liability and the rights that we had and how we could provide this to our patrons legally.
And we also, I think we've done a good job of that from our previous strategic plan, because I did not notice anyone saying that we have a need for more technology or you're not providing for my technology services.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, they weren't looking for computers or anything.
Or they appreciate what we have already.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay, so what I have gleaned, right now we have 3 focus areas, and one of them has 3 bullet points under it. So the first one would be awareness. The second one is resources with materials, programming, and services. And then the third one is property. Property. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Very impressed. Okay, so homework. What we're going to do is, there's an assignment for you all, is to draft a sentence outlining the objective of each focus area. So take notes. The focus areas, again, are awareness, resources. I will follow up with an email. Awareness, resources, which contains materials, programming, and services, and property. Those are the 3. So what you're going to do is draft a sentence outlining the objective of each focus area, a la what you see here on the left side of the screen. So the focus area was facility in the previous strategic plan, and the objective described the goal. So the objective was to provide a welcoming facility and campus that meets the community needs, encourages utilization, and fosters an enriching environment. So that's what I'm asking you to do. That's number 1. So under the 3 focus areas, create an objective sentence. And number 2 is to draft 2 approaches to achieving that objective. How do we reach this objective? So as you can see as an example here, the objective is to provide a welcoming facility. How do we get there? Number 1, update and enhance the facility structure and interior areas, XYZ. Number 2, utilize universal design. Number 3, commission professional assistance. Number 4, refer capital project. I'm asking of you just 2. So under each focus area, create 2 approaches to achieving the objective you've listed for that focus area. And I'm giving you 2 weeks. So please send me your ideas by April 23rd. Just email them to me. I am sure there will be overlap in everybody's answers, which is actually a good thing because it means we're all kind of thinking the same way or at least have similar ideas. And after hearing back from all of you, I will compile like a composite of all of our input into a draft at the next meeting, and then we can formalize the focus areas. So here are some tips. Just use action words like you see here on the left. Use words like provide and foster, utilize, maintain, and then try to think very generally, broadly, and realistically. Like, do we have the staff, the resources, and the funding to achieve these goals? So think realistically. And then lastly, yes, you have 2 weeks, but the sooner the better. So I do my best when ideas are fresh. I hope you do too. Send them to me. So any questions on the homework? Again, I will follow up with an email about what I'm asking of you. But
Thank you.
yeah, this will help. This will help. And then at our next meeting, we will have a very basic draft of all 3 focus areas and ways to achieve the goals. Okay? All right. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, it's a lot.
Does anyone have anything else they would like to
I have a
discuss?
question.
Yes, Margaret.
What does this mean? We were discouraged by library leadership to have a membership.
Yes.
It was very disappointing.
Yeah, that was in,
What do we?
that was in the free comment section
several
on all of
times.
those.
Yeah,
There-
multiple
there
Yeah, I
was-
know.
It
Yeah.
was repeated, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe
I
there's
yeah,
something.
I could not.
Yeah.
I was
determine
questioning it
what-
every single time. I was like, what- what
But that was
business?
there was duplicates of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There was also duplicate answers for some
Well,
other
yes.
things.
Yeah.
Let me read that one again.
Any other question, comments,
It's in service.
discussion points?
Page 58.
Okay. Then the last item we have on the agenda is to adjourn. May I have a motion and a second?
I move to adjourn.
I second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 8:05 PM. Thanks, everyone.